All right, here we go. Apparently, I am making a tier list. I never would have dreamt that the first video going up on my YouTube channel would be a tier list, but I really wanted to make one of these for my favorite audiobook narrators, and I just felt like it was necessary to pair some audio with it so I could explain my rating system. So I apologize in advance for the lack of something visually interesting to look at while I'm talking, but hopefully this won't be too long. Okay, so first of all, this is going to seem overly positive or maybe not critical enough for some people, but this is a list of my favorite audiobook narrators. I'm ranking my favorites because, to be frank, if I do not like an audiobook narrator, if I'm not jiving with the way they're telling the story, if I find it jarring, if I find it distracting, then I just won't listen to the audiobook of that book. I'll just read it. So I don't make it very far with audiobook narrators I don't like. So this list is going to be super positive because it's a list of my favorites. Okay, here's how my ranking is going to go. S tier is reserved for damn near perfect. We're calling this God tier. I would never read a book, like a physical book, that these people narrate because they enhance the story. They bring something extra that my imagination could never conjure up. These people, like I said, I would never read a physical book of something I have available that they narrate because they just enhance it and make it better. A tier is not a big step below that though. A tier is going to be so very excellent. 5 stars, would highly recommend. I would probably even pick up a book that I don't even know just because this person's narrating it because I like them that much. So not quite God tier, but also just damn near perfect. B is going to be so good, but minor complaints. I would still recommend them. I still look forward to reading them, but I do have some things I can nitpick in B tier. For C tier, it's good, but not excellent. And D tier is going to be, you know what, I may have some nostalgia for these people. I may have a soft spot for them in my heart, that I don't really care for them. You know, their style just doesn't jive with me. It wasn't jarring, it wasn't distracting, it wasn't terrible, but it's just not really my favorite. So I will try to go fast since this is probably going to be boring since there's nothing for you to look at. Okay, so we're going to go straight in with my favorite. Stephen Pacey. I know him from narrating The First Law and the Joe Abercrombie books, and he is just perfection. He's the best. He is my favorite. I own 16 Joe Abercrombie books in physical form between my collector's editions and duplicates. I want to own them. I want to support him. I want Joe Abercrombie to have my money, but I've never read one cover to cover, and I would never dream of it because Stephen Pacey absolutely just brings more to the table. And I mean, now that I have gotten to know the voices associated with his characters, I just can't dream of not doing an audiobook for Joe Abercrombie now because Stephen Pacey, I'm just in love. Okay, next up is Jim Gerard Reynolds. Okay, so I know him from Red Rising. Also, he narrates the Michael J. Sullivan books that I hope to read before the end of the year, maybe 2021. But he's very good. For Jim, he doesn't do a lot of voices. And some people find voices to be a little bit corny at first, but once you really get a couple hours in, if the narrator does a good job with the voices, it absolutely enhances the story. And he just doesn't do many voices. Hold on, I'm losing my spot here. He has a beautiful speaking voice. He's Irish, and I really like that. I'm going to go ahead and put him in C tier. Again, this is a reminder that my C tier is not a bad place to be. It's really good. It's just not in my top 5 or anything like that. So, good on you, Jim. You belong there. You earned it. And I am looking forward to reading those Michael J. Sullivan books because he does a great job, and I look forward to books that he narrates. All right, Joe Jameson, I know him from the Greatcoat series. I've only read or listened to the first book in the series, Trader's Blade, and he did a great job. I really liked listening to his voice. For some reason, his voice reminds me of Uhtred from The Last Kingdom, and I think that's cool. But once again, some of his girl voices are kind of strange, and he doesn't do a lot of different voices for the men. So I'm going to also put him in C tier because he was good, but maybe not quite excellent. Okay, we found another S tier. James Marsters reading Dresden Files. One little side note, an asterisk, but it still doesn't take away from anything. The first 2 to 3 books in the Dresden Files, he has grown as a narrator. He has learned a lot about the craft, and he has mastered it. The first few books weren't bad by any means, but they were lower production value, and you can tell he was still learning. They were still really, really good. But since then, I'm on book 8, I believe, currently. He is just incredible. He owns it. I imagine in the recording booth, he is like totally animated and like acting things out because he really gets into it. I love the voice he does for Harry, but he doesn't make any girl voices sound corny. That's something you have to watch out for, is when a narrator is reading the opposite sex, it's sounding weird, but that doesn't happen for him. He does a great job with female voices, and he also does really good, demon voices and fairies and that kind of stuff. So absolutely, I don't have to even think about that. He's in the S tier. I have to read Dresden Files on audiobook because I just would miss it too much. He's just that good. Okay, next on the list, Michael Kramer. Okay, it's going to be hard for me to separate the mushy-gushy, grandfatherly, grandmotherly feelings I have for Michael Kramer and Kate Reading because I just feel like they are my people and I love them. I separated Michael Kramer and Kate Reading because Michael Kramer read Mistborn by himself, and I think that performance was so good that it separates him from Kate Reading. Because Kate Reading and Michael Kramer read The Wheel of Time together, and they read the Stormlight Archives together. Kate, of course, doing the female POV chapters, Michael doing the male. But in Mistborn, he does the whole book himself. And it is some of his best work. His Sazed voice is probably one of my favorite voices ever. So Michael is for sure, he earned his spot in the A tier. He's not S tier because sometimes he can be a little sleepy, but man, his voices are so good and his voice is just so clear and consistent, and he just has an awesome voice. So Kate is next, and I'm comfortable putting Kate in the B tier. You will notice that Kate Reading is the only female narrator on my list. I just don't love female narrators. And it's because when they do men's voices, it's just a little off-putting to me. But Kate is a master. She's so good. Remember, B tier is still so good. Just some minor complaints, but I still look forward to hearing her read. I love the voices she does for Shalon and Pattern in Stormlight Archives. So, I absolutely love her. And, yeah, I did separate the two of them. I don't know if everyone knows this, but they're married, and I think that's super adorable. So yeah, she's going to be in B tier because I do have some nitpicks and complaints, but I love her. Okay, next up, Peter Kenny. Peter Kenny I know from The Witcher. And here's the thing about me and The Witcher. I really like The Witcher, but I don't love it. I really like it. But I love Peter Kenny. Peter Kenny is what keeps me coming back to the series. He's so good. So I think I'm going to put him in S tier because I have no complaints about his reading. And also the fact that he keeps me coming back to a book series that I don't love, I think that says something in his favor. Peter Kenny is excellent. His Geralt voice is dreamy. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep Peter in S tier. I think he's that good. He really just, oh, he elevates that book, and he does some really good voices. And I just love it when a narrator can give characters distinct voices, but it doesn't feel corny, like once you get used to it. Okay, Peter, you're in the S tier. Okay, next is Prentice Onayemi. That's how I think it is pronounced. This is the guy who reads for Rage of Dragons. And oh, he has the most beautiful voice. His regular speaking voice is gorgeous. I'm going to put him in B tier because he doesn't do a lot of voices and there's not a lot of differentiating between the characters. But it's hard to complain because, man, his speaking voice is just like butter. Okay, next on my list is Jeff Harding. And again, I've only read one book of his, and that was Kings of the Wild. But he did so good. I'm definitely putting him in A tier. There was one voice he did for Golden Gabe that I didn't love. I didn't love how he did Golden Gabe's voice, but that I think is my only complaint. I love the voices that he gave all of these characters. And if you've read Kingdoms of the Wild, you know that there are tons of different fantasy races and beasties and all kinds of wild characters. And he really gave each of them a distinct voice. And I had so much fun with that book. And I'm wondering if part of the reason I loved it so much was because of the narration, because it was really good. Okay, next is Roy Detrice. Oh, Roy, you're going in D tier. I'm sorry, my man. I love A Song of Ice and Fire. Everyone knows that. I've read it and listened to it many times, and he just doesn't really do anything for me. He has a very limited scope, a limited range, and he makes everybody sound like a leprechaun, and it drives me crazy. So I have a lot of love for him because I feel like he's earned it. And that's I don't know why I feel that way. Maybe because he's an old man and I can't stand saying something bad about him. But he's not very good. So you're gonna go in the D tier. I do still listen to those audiobooks from time to time, but he's not very good. It looks like I need to plug my laptop in. Ooh, okay. Moving on. That's enough negativity for one day. Damien Lynch reads for the John Gwynne books, Faithful and the Fallen and Of Blood and Bone. And he does really good voices, you guys. I really, really like him. Gosh, I don't think I have any reason not to put him in A tier. I didn't see that coming. But now that I'm thinking of it, you know, I am going to put him in B tier. My biggest complaint is that a lot of times with the male characters, there's not enough differentiating their voices. Like, I wouldn't know the difference between, say, like, Gar or Nethair. And I like it when he starts to speak and I can tell immediately what character it is. There's not a lot of differentiating between some of the male voices. But man, I love the voice he did for Brenna and for the Crows. And he doesn't make women's voices off-putting. I've already mentioned that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. So B tier is still good. I have down B tier means so good, but minor complaints. So I feel comfortable with Damien Lynch being in the B tier. Okay, next is Rob Inglis. And I know him from reading Lord of the Rings. I'm going to put him in C tier. He's very good, and he is an artist. He just has that beautiful, classic Old English voice, and he does voices really well. You know what? Actually, I'm going to put him in B tier. You earned it, Rob. I really like those audiobooks, and I think he brought a lot to the story. I think he really enhanced it, if that's even possible. But yeah, he made it even more magical. Yeah, I have some little nitpicks here and there, but yeah, for the most part, I don't have much to say about that. It was just really good. And that's when I spot read a lot. Like when I'm just like, you know what, I feel like listening to, I feel like some Lord of the Rings. And he always, yeah, I probably could even put him in A tier. I think I'll keep him in B tier. But no, he's excellent. Okay, Jim Dale. I know Stephen Fry also reads Harry Potter, but I don't have those audiobooks. I have the Jim Dale ones. And Jim Dale is very, very good. Again, some of the characters, I feel like he could have gone a little harder with the voices. Like his Hagrid isn't quite Hagrid-y enough for me. But for the most part, I really do enjoy listening to Jim Dale read. It's some minor complaints about some of the kids too, so I'm going to keep him in B tier. But I'm very happy with his reading of Harry Potter. I would love to listen to the Stephen Fry version as well, because Stephen Fry has a great voice. Okay, so these last three, I'm going to kind of call them honorable mention. Neil Gaiman is an author, but he reads a lot of his own books, and he doesn't do. He does do pretty good character voices, actually. He doesn't always go hard with the character voices, but his actual reading voice is beautiful, and you can tell that he loves reading his stories. So I'm going to put him in B tier, a few nitpicks here and there, but I like to listen to his audiobooks because I think it's cool when an author reads their own books, because you get to hear it exactly how they wanted you to hear it. You're not hearing someone else's interpretation, you're hearing it directly from the author's mouth, and I love that. And I love that he puts in the time and the effort to do that. This one's kind of a random one, but Will Wheaton reading Ready Player One. So I don't know if Will Wheaton has read any other audiobooks, or if they just got him because he's like somewhat in that book. But I was surprised to see that he was reading it, because, I mean, we know him from Star Trek and Stand By Me, maybe Big Bang Theory if you watch that. So it's not surprising that an actor would be good at narrating, but for some reason, I just really loved him reading Ender's Game, and it was really fun. Not Ender's Game, oh my gosh. Not Ender's Game, Ready Player One. I'm going to put him in B tier. He didn't do a lot of different voices, but the ones he did totally worked. And he just read it with the right amount of inflection and conviction, and it was just really, really fun. And sometimes I catch myself wondering, did I like Ready Player One as much as I think I did, or did I just really enjoy the audiobook experience? So good for you, Will Wheaton. And the last one is Michael C. Hall. He read Pet Sematary, and I'm putting him straight in A tier. It was A tier. It was so good. I don't know if he has narrated other books, but I am going to go look, because he is somebody that I would pick up an audiobook and listen to it, even if it wasn't on my list, just because I enjoyed him narrating. He did voices, and that book has such an ominous tone, and he just nailed it perfectly. And in case you don't know, Michael C. Hall is the actor who played Dexter, and man, it just worked. He did a great job. So, listen guys, this is 18 minutes of me just talking at a screen, so if you actually watched this, then thank you. I plan on making some more YouTube videos, so, you know, the thing, like, subscribe, maybe I'll be back with some more videos. But thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments, what do you think? Who are some of your favorite audiobook narrators? Who have I left off of here? Obviously, this is not a definitive list of audiobook narrators. I mostly listen to fantasy with some horror and sci-fi sprinkled in, so that's going to be my limited scope. But who should I check out? Who do you love to listen to, and what do you think of my ratings? So that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.